Hi everyone, Kai here at the Dogwood office in Burnaby.
Laura here too.
Um, yeah, another heavy day. Just that as we record this, France is recovering from a horrible terrorist attack in Nice, and I have to admit, with everything that's been going on this summer, the racial attacks in Britain after Brexit, the shootings in the States, like it's been pretty hard to get out of bed some mornings, and yeah, add that to the crushing and ongoing housing crisis in Vancouver and just the unrelenting march of climate change. And yeah, personally, I felt pretty low this summer.
For sure. I definitely feel that too. And that's why I come to work at Dogwood every day and why I love being part of the organizing team. I mean, I'm an American by birth, now Canadian as well. So I definitely sometimes look with shock and horror at what's happening in my home country. But what gives me hope and what gets me out of bed is the stories of places like my home state of Oregon or Washington, where communities have come together to fight the coal industry and have won. So hand in hand with Native American tribes and mobilizing people who care about their place and care about each other. They've been able to stop one of the most powerful industries on earth from sending more coal into the atmosphere.
Yeah, and I mean the parallels are pretty strong here. Like we're winning on both the coal and the oil pipeline battles, and that's thanks to I think a couple of factors that make BC unique. The first that we have to acknowledge is that most of the province is not under treaty, and so the courts just keep affirming rights and title. In the Enbridge case, again, the permits were thrown out because the federal court recognized that the federal government did such a bad job of consulting First Nations. And so that legal foundation has enormous power to hold back some of the worst excesses of this corporate greed. But then you add on top of that the people, the voters across the province, who I think are more tied to their place in the province where they live than people almost any other place in Canada. And in fact, we're more loyal to our neighbors and to the places that we rely on than to the political parties. And that is volatile and dangerous for the parties and exciting if you're a third party sort of issue based organizer like the work we do at Dogwood.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the glue that keeps our organizing teams together. Is they come together around shared values and they commit to each other and their communities. And that allows us to be resilient through hard times when the rest of the world seems like it's falling apart. We know that we are, with every piece of data entered by an organizing team, every new signature gathered, every new conversation, that we're building the foundation for shifting the balance of power in BC, and that can actually have a global impact.
Yeah, Kinder Morgan's coming straight at us, but we've got a couple of things in our back pocket that are going to be pretty fun to roll out. So when the federal government promised to revamp the pipeline approval process and restore trust in the reviews, they made a huge mistake with Kinder Morgan because they appointed somebody to the panel that's going to be making this recommendation who has a direct business relationship with Kinder Morgan, who signed a partnership agreement and shared staff with the pipeline company, and that creates a huge optics problem for the Trudeau government, which we need to point out. Our responsibility is to attend these town halls starting in Kamloops next week and actually bring that up. Make sure that people are aware that there are flaws at the very core of this process, and in fact, in many ways, they've taken the National Energy Board review and made it worse. So we'll be circulating.
It's possible.
Yeah, we didn't think it was. So we'll take that and build over the course of the summer and then pivot to put pressure on individual MPs, because this is a political decision. It always has been. And those are the folks that are going to have to live with the Trudeau government decision in December. And so they need to hear from constituents starting in the fall. The other exciting thing that's coming up on the calendar in November is the next round of climate talks in Marrakesh, which is where Trudeau and all the world leaders have to get together and figure out how they're going to implement the promises that they made to the world in Paris to keep warming below 1.5 degrees. And as we know, you can't expand the oil sands, build these new massive export pipelines in the middle of a climate crisis and expect your emissions to go down. And so Trudeau's going to have to square that circle, and it's really a binary choice. Either they put us on track to surviving the next century, or take us in completely the wrong direction because industry said so. And that's the choice that we want to make sure they face in December, and we're going to make sure the whole world knows that, and that every voter in British Columbia understands that that the decision on Kinder Morgan is a binary choice between two very different futures.
And that's why the important work that you're doing out there in the world, every conversation, every new signature on a petition, every data sheet entered, every town hall meeting is building that foundation to have the power to hold our politicians accountable and shift the balance of power.
Yeah, and that goes to the federal pipeline decision in December and beyond. There's a provincial election coming up real quick next May, and no doubt challenges that await us after that. So all of this is cumulative, and all of this is, I don't know, it's an act of hope. It's
hope.
Doing this kind of work is an expression of belief that there is a better world possible, and that's worth getting out of bed for.
That's what we're building. Let's do this.
Thanks, everyone. We're not very good at high fives, eh?
No, well.
Sorry.